All right, let's do this, guys. Back again with some more right-wing extremist content for you. Appreciate you for you being here. Please give it a like on your way in. Make sure you share it. Get in front of some eyeballs. This is the last day, I believe, of the suspension. I mean, they told me 2 weeks, and 2 weeks would be today. It was this day 2 weeks ago that I had that very evil, extremist, medical misinformation fueled live stream, and they suspended me for it. But I think it's the end today. So I should be back on the main channel tomorrow. But if not, I'll just be here. It's fine. But just want to let you guys know that. So if you are new to this channel, but you don't know about my main channel, which I know there's a pretty sizable amount of people who don't know about my main channel, make sure you subscribe to the main channel and make sure you have the bell notification hit for both of those channels so you don't miss anything. All right. I see we got a little crowd already. I appreciate y'all for being here. I see you've got a shout out from somebody in Colorado, my home state. We got Pennsylvania. We got ATL. We got Sean. We got a good little crowd in here. Appreciate y'all for being here. Okay. So, I've been reporting a lot of positive news stories or like updates on things. I don't really have anything. It's not that I couldn't find anything. It's just ask and you shall receive. I mean, I was complaining about it a couple of weeks ago. Like, man, it's hard to find positive news stories. And then lo and behold, they just start like flooding in. But I didn't find anything today. It doesn't mean there's nothing positive per se. I couldn't find anything, and nothing, made its way. It's just lazy searching, basically. I didn't find anything today. So I don't have any positive news stories for you. But if you would like me to report on something, because you notice, guys, I've been focused on topics that are like a day or two ahead of mainstream news and stuff that I feel is, underreported. Like, you're not going to hear any other conservative or influencer talk about it. So I focus on those stories. But that story just yesterday that I reported on about the 2-year-old getting kicked off the flight, now that's trending on Twitter. Now you got Clay Travis talking about it. Now it's mainstream news. Now maybe Tucker Carlson will talk about it. I don't know. I'm not just saying like, oh, it's because of me. I'm just saying I'm trying to focus on these stories ahead of time, like get ahead of them. And then, if the same thing can happen with some positive news stories, that would be great. That would be ideal. But yeah, just want to say, if you want me to cover anything positive that you happen to find out, or comes across your radar, send it to me. Send it to me. My DMs are open as well. That'd be the best way to get it in front of me. All right. Johnny, I love the freedom in the chat. Love it. Love it. Love the enthusiasm. Okay, let's get started. Nicki Minaj, I didn't think that she would still be in the headlines after that first day, but she's back in the headlines. Or she hasn't left the headlines. It's just the headlines have evolved. And she has now been officially suspended from Twitter. Now, they're saying she wasn't suspended from Twitter. There's no proof. Well, she stopped tweeting last night, or, it's been, I think, now 19 hours since her last tweet, and she could be taking a break, but she said she was suspended. It's all the trolls and people who are trying to drag her right now that are saying she wasn't suspended. So she did a live stream on Instagram. I've watched it, and she is over the target, man. I don't care what you think about Nicki Minaj. I don't care if you like rap music. None of that's important. She has joined the human freedom movement, period. She's involved in this movement now, and she's gaining momentum. Now, I thought that her having 22.6 million Twitter followers was impressive. That's nothing. She's got 157 million Instagram followers. That's big time influence. That is a lot of people that are listening to what she has to say, are paying her attention. And I would like to agree. I would like to think that at least half, if not the majority of her followers are paying attention, paying close attention to how she's being dragged right now, how dishonest the media coverage has been of this entire situation. You notice how they took one part of one tweet that she tweeted out the other day and they ran with it. This is how propaganda works. Stephen Colbert can't help but bat around Nicki Minaj's errant anti-vaxxer ball tweet. So she's been labeled an anti-vaxxer when everybody who watches her, everybody who follows her, even if you don't know her, even if you don't like her music, you still did your due diligence and you went and read her tweets. Like, well, I know the media is full of it. Let me go hear it from the horse's mouth. What exactly did she say? So you go and read what she says. Then you go to this Stephen Colbert late night sketch where he's making fun of her, and they did like a fake music video of her. Or that could have been Jimmy Kimmel. I don't know. One of the two. Then you go and see this, though, and you're like, well, they're pushing. This is propaganda. This is lying. And, his audience probably doesn't care. They probably don't know. They didn't do their own research. They trust that what he says is gospel. So they're probably not researching. They're probably not going to read her tweets. They're going to take this little decoy narrative that the media is running with. She talked about swollen testicles. She's clearly insane. She's crazy. That's what they try to do. They did it a few weeks ago, right? Joe Rogan, he ingested horse paste. Joe Rogan is crazy. He's out there, which translates to don't listen to that guy. He's psycho. He's not all there. He's off his rocker. These celebrities, they may be going through a mental episode. Maybe they're depressed. They did the same thing with Kanye West when he put the MAGA hat on. He's mentally ill. He needs to check himself back into rehab. There's something going on with Kanye West. They're doing the same thing to Nicki Minaj. They're taking this swollen testicle verbiage, this what she used in that tweet, where she was actually being genuine. She wasn't trying to make a joke. She wasn't trying to be crazy. She was saying she talked to somebody, her cousin, whose friend had that reaction. Whether it's true or not, she could have been lied to. Who knows? They took that and then they ignored the fact where she said, hey, you know what? You should pray about it. You should pray, do your own research and make decisions. That is the most sane, rational tweet. Nobody would have seen a problem with that a few years ago. Like, yeah, you should if she had tweeted this in 2019 and just said, hey, before you get any medication, consult your doctor, pray about it, do your research, and make the decision that's right for you. If any human being had said that in 2019, nobody would bat an eyelash. But because now we're in this hyper partisan, super polarized, and politicized medicine era where everything is just super political and medication is political now, and these health, institutions are now politicized. They basically pushed on one side of the discussion. It just makes it very hard for people to kind of figure out what's going on. So now that tweet is deemed as medical misinformation, or it's dangerous, it's anti-vaxxer. But what she got suspended for on Twitter is she tweeted out a clip of Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson has been defending her. Tucker Carlson probably didn't know who she was 3 days ago. So she tweeted that clip out of him making a joke about that tweet, and she got suspended on Twitter for it, right? But the way that they're doing it is they're just propagandizing it. This is a way for them to keep an amount of people, whoever follows Stephen Colbert, whoever watches these unfunny late night talk show hosts, they're keeping them trapped in a matrix bubble where they don't think outside of what they are being told, and they believe it. How many people out there believe that she's some crazy anti-vaxxer who's the reason she's not getting it is because she's concerned about swollen testicles, right? There are people that believe that because they're too lazy to do their own research. The truth is a value. I've said that 100 times. The truth is a value. You have to want to know if what you believe is real or not. You have to want to know it. You have to want to know what's true, even if it contradicts what you think is true, even if it contradicts the way you feel. That's valuing truth. You seek it out and you don't care if it contradicts your worldview, your political beliefs, your feelings. If it's uncomfortable, doesn't matter. It's still the truth. In fact, the truth will set you free. It'll help you expand your horizons, right? So that's just a little bit about what's going on here. Nicki Minaj is being dragged, but what she's doing is so important. The fact that she has this big following and the fact that she's pushing back and they're trying to lie on her, smear her, as we can see the truth, like parallel with the lie, you can see the truth. Usually the truth comes out later. No, the lie came out later. This time the truth was already dropped. The truth came out right away. It's not like that horse paste. I don't want to get tripped up by the algorithms. That horse paste narrative came out first. Then the truth came, right? It took a couple days before they had to issue a retraction. But this time, the truth was out, and then the lie came after to keep people brainwashed and to make them tune out Nicki Minaj. This is the whole false dichotomy of if you don't want this jab, it's because you're an anti-science, anti-vaxxer, you're radical, you're extreme. When they label somebody that way, they're trying to convince people listening to them and taking them seriously that they shouldn't take you seriously. They should tune you out. You're the psychopath. So that's why you're seeing all these headlines. Propaganda. That's pure propaganda. Now, the other thing she said too is she got invited to the White House, which is what I put in the title of this video, right? She was invited to the White House. Now, the White House refutes this and says, no, 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 we never invited her to the White House. We offered her a phone call. Well, let's see. The White House just lied about what happened in Afghanistan. They've been lying about COVID. We know they're lying about Mark Milley. We know that they've lied about like 5 things in the last month. Those are the things we know about that they lied about. Nicki Minaj, who has no reason to lie about being invited to the White House, who do you believe? Who do you think is telling the truth? I know who I think is telling the truth, and it ain't the White House. So the White House is saying, no, 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 we didn't invite her there. And why that whole thing is even significant is if she were to go to the White House and take that, because when I saw her say that she was invited to the White House before the White House ever refuted it, when she said, the White House invited me, I think this is positive or whatever, the first thought that popped in my head is, well, they're going to try to get her back in line. That's what that is. They're going to try to straighten her out and make her be not just, what's the word I'm looking for? They don't want her to just be neutral about the vax. They want her to be pro-vax. Like they want her to go on the offense as far as, citing CDC stuff and like, hey guys, because they realized they probably didn't know who she was before. Then they looked and they're like, actually, she's got almost 200 million people that follow her on social media. So maybe we should actually turn her into an ally. Let's convert her. And the fact that the White House wants to bring her there or even wants to talk to her tells you that she's important. She's an important person. They know that she has a lot of influence. She's not historically political. She's not historically somebody that's like strung out on drugs and always making headlines. No, she's pretty even keel. If you ever listen to her talk, she's a little rough around the edges, but she sounds intelligent. I mean, if we're being honest, a lot of rappers sound kind of ignorant, kind of dumb, but she's not one of them. She's actually pretty intelligent if you just listen to her talk, but they know that. So they want to try to turn her to an ally. So the first thought in my head was they're going to try to convert Nicki Minaj to make her be a pro-vax advocate and try to convince her nearly 200 million social media followers that this is their way to health. But Nicki wisely, I guess, declined it. And I don't think she declined it because she didn't want to go behind closed doors. I'm sure that was part of it. I think she actually ended up saying that part of the reason she didn't want to do it is because her fans would be left in the dark and it lacks transparency. So she's got the foresight to know how something's going to look, how the perception would be if she were to go meet with Fauci and the Surgeon General, who clearly are biased in favor of big pharma injections. So she has the foresight to know, well, I'm going to go meet with biased people. I know what their perspective is. Let me have a list of questions that my followers, my fans, people who are skeptical want to know, right? And she wanted it to be transparent so people could see. Whereas if she were to go behind closed doors and then come out an a pro-vaxxer, then she loses credibility. It looks like, oh, they got to you. You're not really for medical freedom. She would lose money, lose fans, lose all of her credibility. So she had the foresight for that. So the White House anyway refutes it. Like, we didn't invite her. We just offered a phone call. And I mean, maybe that phone call will happen. Maybe it'll be a video thing. I probably wouldn't watch it. I mean, maybe I would. I don't know. I don't know if I would watch it or not. It just depends on how she approaches it. Because we've seen celebrities before seem like they come out in favor of, an America first or a value that represents the country. And we get excited, right? Because they have such a strong influence. So we get excited, but then they turn coat or they back down from it. Like, it's Kanye he's not really even talking about politics anymore. And that's fine. That's not in his wheelhouse. But it would have been, how effective would it have been if he had kept going? He did more than just dip his toe in the water. He jumped in. And Nicki Minaj, I think, jumped in. And she didn't just jump in. She highlighted that the majority of her peers, the majority of rappers, probably singers, songwriters, musicians, producers, a lot of people in her industry agree with her and are just afraid to speak up. They're afraid to lose money. They're afraid to lose fans. So it's not just her that feels this way. I mean, you had a rapper by the name of Busta Rhymes. Some people may know who he is. Some people may not. He, like about 2-3 weeks ago, he went on a rant at a concert talking about how the mask blocks your energy. You can't eat, you can't drink. It's hard to breathe. It's hard to talk. You can't see someone smile. I mean, it blocks your humanity. It literally blocks your humanity. It's hard to live. It's hard to exist with that cloth covering your face. Now I might get a channel strike for medical misinformation, even though where's the lie? Where did I just lie? But you see, they're starting to shine a light. You're starting to see the tide turn, even as things are getting more rigid, as people are getting thrown off airplanes, as people are getting, their freedom stripped away, getting arrested. You're seeing a pushback. You're seeing a strong wave of protests. You're seeing people starting to speak out. Hold on, guys. I got to adjust my AC. It's sweltering in here. Usually I drop the temperature before I start. Okay, we're good. All right. So Nicki and Busta Rhymes and other musicians and people of influence, of cultural influence, have come out in favor of freedom and liberty. And the other thing too is sometimes they apologize after, like John Cena apologized for calling Taiwan a country. I mean, that was pathetic. You had LeBron James he comes to the defense of communist China. So, I mean, it just goes to show you how powerful this moment is right now, which is why she's still in the headlines, which is why this story, I believe, is pretty damn fascinating. So I guess we'll see where it goes from here, because I mean, they extended an invite. I believe her when she says they invited her to the White House. Now, it doesn't sound like she's going to be going to the White House, but it's very possible that she meets with the Surgeon General and Flip-Flop and Fauci, at which point she has a golden opportunity to take them to task over their medical misinformation, over their flip-flopping. The world needs that. Tell me the world doesn't need that. Nicki Minaj or whoever, doesn't have to even be her, but since she's the person of interest right now, if she got a chance to write down all of the times that Fauci lied, flip-flop, the fact that he acknowledged people have immune systems in an interview from like a year ago or 2 years ago, where he told a guy that was talking to him what he needed to do instead of, buying into fear. Fauci actually said that. So Nicki Minaj has a chance in front of the world if this were to happen, and I'm sure the White House will be way ahead of it, trying to do preemptive damage control. She has an opportunity to take them to task for how they've misled humanity and how we found ourselves in a situation where you, me, other people are getting constant pressure to get this shot. You should never, ever, ever have to get a medical procedure based on someone pressuring you to do it. Period. That's the end of discussion. Nobody can convince me otherwise. It's up to you. But because we're in this situation because they've divided us amongst into two categories: vaxxers and anti-vaxxers. You're considered an anti-vaxxer if you don't want it. It's not just that you believe that you should make this decision on your own terms, or that you have a religious belief, or you have a pre-existing condition, or you've talked to your doctor, or you just don't want to get it. You don't need to have one of those reasons. If you find yourself on that side of this debate, well, they've labeled you as an other. You're an untouchable. You're sickly. You should be cast out of society. You should be discriminated against. So she has an ability to take them to task on all of that, because Fauci himself said, I think a couple days ago, he thinks airlines should start discriminating against people who weren't vaccinated. I mean, who didn't see this coming? We all knew this was coming. Now, whether the airlines actually end up doing it, we don't know. I mean, it's possible that it doesn't happen. I think that they eventually will. I mean, you saw they're already discriminating against people mid-flight, turning around because a 2-year-old with asthma can't keep a mask on. I mean, that's already happening. So it's not hard to believe that they may just implement some vaccine requirement before you can fly. But Fauci, the top doctor in our country, is advocating for it. So I hope that this thing does happen with Nicki. Maybe I would tune in, because if they can't control what she's saying, she may be able to do some serious damage. And I hope the whole world tunes in. So I'll move on from that. But it's interesting. The whole thing is very interesting. Now, let's go to this story. Now, we've all seen how inappropriate and disgusting the guy in the White House is. This has been well documented over the years. People overlooked it. They're like, I don't care that he is inappropriate with women. I don't care that he's inappropriate with children. He's better than Orange Man. So I will take him groping women, sniffing children over somebody who tweets things I don't like. There are people, I know people who overlook everything Biden has ever done. They don't care. Or they're like, it's still not as bad. Yeah, I see that he did that. That's kind of creepy. But Trump tweeted something this morning that was really disgusting and awful. So there's people like that, right? Now, this story right here, or this video that I'm going to play, it's going to make you cringe. There's no volume at all. I mean, I got to mute it because, I mean, nobody's saying anything, but there's music playing in the background. So I don't want to get a copyright strike. Look at this kid's face. Let me make it full screen for y'all. Kids are judges of character. I don't know. Now, the reason why I don't think this is like a top story, because I don't know if this is from last year or not. This just happened to be surfaced. I don't know if it's from the campaign, because you see he's not wearing a mask and they're not wearing masks and they're close together. This could be from 5 years ago for all we know. I mean, we know that Biden has been this way his entire career. We know he has a tendency to get close to women, children. I showed you a video just yesterday where he creeped on a boy that was looking to his side. Like, he was creeped out. You can see it from still shots. You can see it from live videos. He creeps human beings out. He's disgusting. But if this is new, it just add it to the list, man. Add it to the plethora of videos. I got to stop playing it. It's so disgusting. But look at the kid's face. That looks like maybe a 2-year-old. I don't know. Probably not. It's probably like a 9-month-old baby. Look at that still shot right there. Does that baby look uncomfortable? That baby looks like it's judging character. Stranger danger. More than stranger danger. Now, if this is new, because see, this tweet is from yesterday. Somebody tweeted yesterday. But you would think that creepy Joe Biden would be trending on Twitter, which makes me think that this is an old video that just happened to resurface. But nonetheless, it's my first time seeing it. It's probably your first time seeing it. This guy is so disgusting. I don't know what's worse, the fact that he does all of this, or the fact that we all know people who overlooked it because they didn't like Trump. They're like, I don't care. He could sniff 10 children tomorrow, and he's still better than Trump. There's people who are gone down that rabbit hole of delusion. I showed you 2 things yesterday, or this week even. I showed you the picture of the Trump kids taking the photo with Biden, and then I showed you where his right hand was, okay? And then I showed you yesterday a video from 9/11 also, or maybe it's from the other day, I don't even know. He walks up behind this little kid who looks like he's maybe a teenager and grabs him on the shoulders. I mean, are we in a public health emergency or not? This is not leading by example. The optics are terrible. Even if this is from last year, we were still in this big, pandemic, global public health emergency. So why are you getting close to a kid, even with no public health emergency? Why are you getting intimate with a stranger's baby? Why are you doing this, Joe? And why is nobody talking about this? This is disgusting. He's a sicko. Sicko. The guy in the White House sniffs babies, infants, toddlers, gropes children. And this isn't even the 100th example of it. All you got to do is Google it. Creepy Joe Biden. You'll get mainstream news articles about it. They know it, but they decided to sweep it under the rug. Isn't it funny how they can dig up everyone else's past? Hey, look, you tweeted this 11 years ago. You said that men can't be women in a tweet years ago. You're such a bigot. But nobody wants to dig up the past of this guy, because it's not even just the past. It's the present with Joe Biden. You get him around a kid, tomorrow, and he's going to creep on them. Can't forget about the little 9-year-old girl. It's like, look at her sitting there like a little lady with her legs crossed. Oh, I tell you something. He's disgusting. A sicko. So what's worse? Is it that he does this, or that we know people who overlook it, or they will downplay it, they'll minimize it, they'll call it a deep fake photo op or a Photoshop situation? Like, that's not real, that's not true. Or CNN's not covering it, it's not on MSNBC, so it's not a thing. So that's your grandpa in chief sniffing children, little children. Moving on, speaking of children, left-wing activists protest outside Brett Kavanaugh's home after he rejected challenge to Texas 6-week abortion ban. Left-wing activists. Interesting. What other headlines might there be around this story? Pro-choice protesters. There's that word again. There's that little euphemism. Pro-choice. Pro-choice protesters demonstrate at Brett Kavanaugh's house. What does this say? Repo freedom for all? Don't know what that means. Impeach Kavanaugh because he doesn't take a stand for us to murder babies. He doesn't, look at this. Police have to surround Brett Kavanaugh's house. This is from a couple days ago. Look at these mobs. This is a mob. You should not be surrounding someone's house. You notice that this is only happening to people who are conservative. They surrounded Mitch McConnell's house. They surrounded Tucker Carlson's house. And they found out where Brett Kavanaugh lives. And he has daughters. He has a wife. So, while they're all about women's rights and we must protect women, they're threatening and intimidating women who don't toe their satanic little line there of murdering babies. I actually like this headline better. It's from Tiger Droppings, which I think is an LSU publication. I like this headline better. It's more fitting. Baby killers are protesting outside the home of Brett Kavanaugh and demanding he resign. See, even though that's biased, it's accurate. They support the murdering of children. So they're angry and they're standing outside of Brett Kavanaugh's house. And this is dangerous for so many reasons. Number one, they know where he lives. So even more radical people than them. I mean, they're just standing there holding signs, but there's other people now that know where he lives. So what if some people who are more radical show up to his house and decide to break in? I mean, if that's his house right here behind these people, that doesn't look very secure to me. I don't see a fence around it. It looks pretty accessible. I mean, you can see this window from the street. I just think this is dangerous. This is dangerous. Even this neighborhood looks like a dangerous place to have protesters. Okay, so people could show up meaning to do harm to Brett Kavanaugh and his family. The other reason this is dangerous is because they're putting pressure on the judiciary to do their bidding. This is probably what happened in the Derek Chauvin trial. They found out who those jurors were, pressured them, or those jurors were afraid that people would find out where they live and go and hunt them down, harass their family, drive them out of society, make their life impossible to live. I'm pretty sure they were afraid to do what was right or what was in their heart or what was the right thing to do. So they caved to mob pressure. So this is dangerous that our justice system, our legal system, our judiciary could bend towards mob rule. This is mob rule. They're mad because Brett Kavanaugh won't block a bill that protects the unborn. Unborn women, by the way, they're all about women, except the women who haven't been born yet. You notice every single pro-choice activist has already been born. That's convenient. Every single person who protests and is in favor of abortion is probably grateful that their parents are pro-life. Kind of funny how that works. But if they can do this, let's just pretend for a second that Brett Kavanaugh is deeply afraid of this and he decides to hear a case that could strike down the Texas abortion bill or whatever, or if he decides to uphold Roe v. Wade, if he decides to bend and cave to this pressure, what does that say about the prospects of justice in the future? If it goes against mob rule, They'll Google your address and go and bully you to get the ruling that they want. So that's problematic. And of course, we got to highlight the hypocrisy. If this were happening at who's a liberal judge? I don't even know. If this were happening at any left-wing person's house, this would be national news. You'd have CNN out there with cameras trying to interview people, trying to get shots, trying to make the crowd look unhinged. The headlines would read, right-wing extremists surround Ocasio-Cortez's apartment. Right-wing extremists armed with AR-15s find Nancy Pelosi and follow her. They would have all these explosive headlines to make the people who may be protesting for a legitimate reason. These people think it's legitimate. I think it's evil, but to each their own. They could paint those people to make them look like they are worse than they are. That's exactly what would happen. Everybody watching this live stream right now knows it's true. We have double standards beyond belief in this country. The media spins, and this is why they're losing so much credibility. This is why people are tuning them out. They have what they try to do has the opposite effect. They're trying to control the narrative with propaganda, fake news, clickbait headlines, sensational news stories. They try to control the narrative, and because they overplay their hand every single time, it has the opposite effect. People defect from it. People are like, yeah, let me go to alternative news. Let me go browse around on YouTube. Oh, here's Tim Pool. I don't agree with everything he says, but hey, he seems like an honest guy that's going to just tell me what he thinks. He'll say, this is my opinion. Here's this article. Here's that article. Straight shooter. No matter what you think about Tim Pool, I don't think he's out there spreading misinformation. I don't think he's fake news. Is he a stomp down conservative? No. Is that the point? No. He is in favor of liberty and freedom. So people are going to start leaving these movements, and they're deflecting. I mean, they've been doing it because of the fake news, because of the double standards, the hypocrisy. You think banning Nicki Minaj from Twitter is going to have the effect that you want, or is it going to have the opposite effect? There are more people following her who didn't know who she was than at any point in her career, because she is now more, I guess, significant right now. Her status as a celebrity has catapulted in significance because she has the ears of everybody. Everybody's watching. Everybody's paying attention. Some people are writing it off, and those are the people watching Stephen Colbert, and they're just hung up on that one little decoy narrative. Oh, swollen testicles, but ignored everything else she said about liberty, about making your own decision, about praying. You know, the opposite of probably what some of these people here who think children should be aborted do. Just saying. I mean, when you're on the side of Satanists, look at this headline from Fox News Austin, Fox 7, Satanic Temple to fight Texas abortion law. Cites religious freedom. So you got Satanists on the side of abortionists. Oh, I wonder if it's because it's some kind of a sacrifice to them. Sacrificing God's gift to the world, an unborn child. Interesting. So these, pro-choice, left-wing activists, the people who just believe in a woman's right to choose murder, they're on the side with Satan. So there's that little tidbit of it. I don't want to spend too much time on abortion. It'll dominate the rest of this stream, because you guys know I could just talk and talk and talk and talk about this topic. I'm very passionate about this one. But I'll just leave it at that. If anybody to the right of the political aisle, anybody, even if they're just a moderate, you had a group of just libertarian people go and protest anywhere in proximity near a Democrat politician or liberal judge's home, their place of work, their car, that would be headlines all across the country. But because Brett Kavanaugh's on the right, Brett Kavanaugh is seen as some extremist, they still call him a rapist. They still think he needs to be impeached. Think about that. People still believe fake news that's been thoroughly disproven and debunked 3 years ago. People are still believing those stories about Brett Kavanaugh. So you got people protesting. You're not going to hear anything about it. They're just going to let it go, let it fall. It's not a big deal. It's okay. It's okay to protest and have a mob stand outside of Brett Kavanaugh's house, but those mobs on January 6th, or those right wingers standing outside of the state capitals. And well, let me say this before I forget. I should have had this in my notes so I could pull up an article or something. I just want to say this. I heard some rumblings about a gathering that's supposed to be happening this Saturday in Washington, D.C. at the Capitol or something like that. And it's supposed to be a conservatives gathering. Don't do it. Don't do it. That's a setup. It's a trap. It is a trap. There's probably going to be some kind of false flag coming at some point, because with what just happened with Nicki, with what's going on with Mark Milley, there's some stories that are damaging to the narrative, the establishment narrative, to the agenda. They need to divert that attention somehow. And if there happens to be a gathering of conservatives, of people who are wearing MAGA gear, they're going to find a way to frame it. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if it happens. I don't know who's organizing this. I haven't even looked into it, but I've heard people talking about it. It's a trap. I want to say Roger Stone was talking about it. Roger Stone made a comment about it. It's a setup. It's a trap. If you end up going down there, I don't know what to tell you. I would encourage my audience to stay as far away from Washington, D.C. as you can. Don't go anywhere near Washington, D.C. In my opinion, that's not even where the fight is right now. The fight should be in your state. And I don't mean physical fight. Got to say that for the algorithms. You know, when you are of right-wing extremist descent, they will take your words literally. Even though fight has been part of political rhetoric for decades, if you are a right-wing extremist like I am, you know, this crazy person, if you say fight, we take it as literal. We mean literal fight. Next thing you know, FBI will be investigating me. That's what the FBI does. They set up Gretchen Whitmer kidnap attempts. They stage false flags. And they cover up women that are abused. You saw the thing, what was it, yesterday, where Olympic gymnasts like Simone Biles and Ali Raisman, I don't know how to pronounce her name, say that the FBI diminished their abuse from this guy, what's his name? Terry Nasser? What's his name? Nasser. His last name is Nasser. That's all I know. Terry Nasser. I think that's correct. Anyway, the FBI has always been confusing to me because on one hand, like a couple years ago, I thought the FBI had some really solid people in there. I didn't know. I always thought that the CIA was the big corrupt one. And they're obviously both corrupt. CIA is very corrupt and more secretive and elusive. They're weird. But the FBI, I thought they had some decent people in there. I mean, they've done some great things. I mean, they've obviously busted up human trafficking rings. There's good guys in government. There are. But I don't think that they're anywhere near the top. I don't think they have their hands on the levers of power. We see that. We know that now. The highest people in military are feeding intel to China. So, I mean, there's that. But the FBI, I thought that there were a lot more good people in there than bad. And there's obviously good and bad people in all branches, all aspects, all bureaucracies. But a few years ago, 3-4 years ago, they put up documents on their website talking about how the CIA was running some sex trafficking thing. It was called the Finders Cult. Anybody remember that? The Finders Cult, where they had kids in like facilities out in like rural Virginia somewhere just outside of DC, and how they found 2 kids in like Tallahassee, Florida at some park. I'm not making any of this up. You can find it. It's all mainstream stuff. The FBI outed that. So I thought like, man, maybe there's like some war between FBI and CIA, because I mean, you're snitching on your brother right there pretty much. You're exposing him. So they can do some good, but they do some bad. And bad is covering up Epstein, pedophile stuff that he was doing. They either cover it up or they just look the other way while it happens. See, they'll go in and investigate Roger Stone. They'll investigate anybody that was at the January 6th event. They'll search for Trump supporters. They'll have their eyes on certain people, but not others. But when it comes to the ruling class, when it comes to people trafficking children, taking advantage of these women, they'll look the other way. So I get mixed signals. I don't know what to make of it. I really don't. It's just the whole thing is weird and it's bizarre. But this is another news story that happened yesterday. There's people testifying to Congress. Now, will there be any I think one person got fired actually for diminishing this. But I mean, will there be any? Who the hell's calling me during my live stream? It's not good. Anyway, I don't know if there's going to be consequences. I guess I've lost some hope on that front. I don't know that the people who deserve to be in jail will ever do their time. I don't ever think they'll see a day in court. I mean, because what we're asking is when we demand the arrests and resignations and people to be fired, what you're asking is you're asking the system to investigate itself. Hey, you need to do an investigation of what you did. Fire yourself. You need to have some integrity now, even though you didn't when you committed this act. We expect you to hold yourself accountable, do the right thing, and resign. We expect you to arrest these people. No. After Fauci's leaked emails came out, we found out Fauci was lying about stuff. We found out he funded gain-of-function research. What did Biden do? He trotted out there and said, I have faith in Dr. Fauci. After we find out what Mark Milley just did, the acts of treason he committed, the fact that he stabbed his country in the back, he should resign in shame at the very least. Biden goes out and says, I trust Milley. I like Milley. So the system's they're not interested in investigating themselves. At this point, it doesn't even seem like they're interested in a fall guy. They don't want anybody to even fall on the sword. Except for maybe Cuomo, right? They had him take the fall for sexual assault allegations instead of him actually going in front of a judge and getting sentenced for his crimes against humanity, right? That's kind of what it is. Like, oh, you just take the fall for this. But fear not, guys. I mean, this evil is going to be rooted out. It's already being exposed. The entire agenda is exposed. The veil is lifted. The information is there for all to see. There are people who see it. There's people who will see it when it's shown to them. And then there's people who just don't see it at all. And those are the people that ignore Biden, sniffing babies. Okay, now I want to wrap on this note, okay? Like I got this list of things, so I'm looking at my phone. I just want to talk about why I have so much vaccine skepticism. Why so many people like Nicki Minaj and Joe Rogan and other high-profile names, NFL players, NBA players, why the average person has so much hesitancy and why everything that they're doing just fuels it. It just fuels it. It just adds fuel to the fire. It does not have the opposite effect, which makes me think, is your goal to get more people vaccinated or not? Because you're going about it so wrong. Right now, let's go back to Trump. When Trump was in office and he was talking about Operation Warp Speed, it's like, hey, that's Trump's deal. I'm not on board with it. I mean, I won't. But at that time, I'm not thinking this is going to be a weapon used against me, because in my mind, he was going to be reelected. And, you have to wonder, if he were in office right now, what would the rates of vaccination be in this country? Because the Joy-Ann Reids of the world and Kamala Harris and everybody else on the left that has Trump derangement syndrome to the moon, they would still be pushing their anti-vax agenda. They would still be, nope, I'm not getting it. If Trump says take it, I'm not taking it. See, the people who ignore Biden sniffing kids also ignore Kamala Harris and Joy Reid and other high-profile names, people with influence and following, dump cold water on vaccines because they had Trump derangement syndrome. He's in there mixing it up himself. How else do you explain that level of lunacy? It makes no sense. But the people want to ignore it. That's fine. Or downplay it. But here's my thing. I'm just going to read a list of why I feel like there's hesitancy across the board, okay? Number one, high recovery rate. We're not talking bubonic plague. We're not talking the flu, or not even talking the flu. We're not talking measles, mumps. We're not talking about some of the more deadly smallpox. We're not talking about that. High recovery rate. So that's going to fuel the hesitancy. They're like, why? The dismissal of an immune system. They don't even acknowledge the people that have caught the virus and recovered. They're like, that's not a thing. We don't talk about it. Even though Moderna just said yesterday, I could pull up the article right now for the YouTube moderators that are probably going to try to come after this. Moderna said yesterday that it only, like, the immunity from their shot only lasts like up to a year. And then if you go to the NIH website, it says that your immunity, natural immunity, wears off in about 11 months. So that's the same thing. Okay. So the dismissal of the immune system, the fact that they never talk about health, they never talk about preventative measures at all. They say, on one hand, they say, we want to do everything we can to bring this pandemic to an end. And then their solution is wear a mask and get the jab. Those are the two options. But we want to do everything to get back to normal and save humanity, pat ourselves on the back while we're at it. We want to save humanity, and we'll do everything in our power to do it. But the only solution is get the jab. And you can't work, you can't feed your family, you can't go to the hospital, you can't fly unless you get it. So the coercion of it too, that's another reason that I have on the list. The double standards. The double standards. If we're in a public health emergency, I've been saying this on repeat. I sound like a broken record. If we're in a public health emergency, close the border. Don't resettle Afghan refugees in the United States, especially when they're bringing over measles. So you're adding other viruses to the equation. You're making a problem worse. Yes, there's people vaccinated against measles and stuff, but still, that's besides the point. You have a standard for people in Congress, the post office, illegal immigrants, and now refugees coming over from Afghanistan. They don't have to get the shot. You don't think that fuels vaccine hesitancy when you have a standard for one person but not another instead of a blanket across the board, which I don't agree with either. I don't agree with a one-size-fits-all solution to a health measure. But I'm saying that's what creates this hesitancy. The fact that people can see this, the fact that you guys are acknowledging, you're admitting it. That, yeah, if you're an undocumented immigrant, a legal immigrant, if you are a refugee, if you're an illegal immigrant, if you are in Congress, if you are a postal worker, you don't have to get it. We're not going to bring down a mandate anyway. How does that make any sense? What does the virus know who to attack and who not? You want to be taken seriously. That's not a good way to do it. So the double standards, the hypocrisy, I talked about that. The hypocrisy of last year. Kamala Harris on video saying, if Trump says take it, I'm not taking it. She sounded like a temper tantrum 2-year-old. I'm not doing it. Or the people that are like, my body, my choice with this abortion bill. My body, my choice. First of all, it's not your body that's up for debate. We're talking about an unborn child with a unique genetic code. That's a fact. Science. Follow the science. But how can you be pro-choice and a woman's right to choose her body? Nobody should be legislating what happens to her body. But then in the very next breath, you agree with all of these mandates. So the hypocrisy, we're supposed to ignore that. The fact that they're discouraging dialogue. You're not allowed to have a conversation, an honest discussion. People have legitimate concerns. They're not anti-vaxxers. That's the thing. The false dichotomy. You either want the shot or you're a raging right-wing anti-vaxxer. I'm sorry, that's not going to do it for me. That's not going to work. As soon as you label me an anti-vaxxer, you've tuned me out. I'm done. I'm tuning you out. The conversation can't go on from that point. If you're going to call someone an anti-vaxxer for raising legitimate concerns, for people who just want to have questions, ask questions, they just want to have a dialogue, an honest discussion. When you have doctors, people that have studied, people that are experts, doctors and scientists who bring different studies, different data to the equation, and you throw them off social media, you silence them and you label them extremists, that raises hesitancy because they're like, why can't I hear both sides of this? Wouldn't that make you really uncomfortable if they're like, hey, you need to try this specific taco, eat that taco. Don't try any of these other ones. Eat this one. I don't know why I said tacos. The first one that came to mind. Eat this. Eat this. You got to have this. What about these other foods? No, 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 no. Those foods are bad. Eat this. Wouldn't you be like, I'm good. I'm gonna just go home and make a salad. That's what most people would do. That's common. That's like common sense, right? People would be like, I'm hesitant. I don't think that's the right thing. You're making me suspicious by you being so anxious for me to get this thing. Why? What's the big deal? If it's so earth-shattering and so amazing, you shouldn't have to hard sell it. It should sell itself. But no, you guys decided to politicize it last year. The fact that they discourage any other treatment, anything, nothing. There's only two solutions. Cover your face perpetually and get jabs perpetually. Booster shot, booster shot, booster shot, every turn. So there's that. The censorship, I just covered that. People get thrown off social media for sharing an opinion. People get thrown off social media or have their stories silenced, not heard at all, when they actually have a reaction. I mean, this is not me spreading medical misinformation. This is on the CDC website. It's on the WHO website. It's on the NIH website. There are side effects, but no, they present it as there are no side effects. There's absolutely no downside whatsoever. That's not honest. You're not going to get people to agree with you, to agree to take this medical procedure by downplaying and trying to disappear information that damages it. If anything, you should be transparent so people know what they're getting. After all, it's their body. Just crazy, man. The demonization, the threats. We're losing our patience. It's time to, the rhetoric has gotten so insane. Remember Cuomo talking about going door to door, basically kidnapping people? I mean, that's creepy authoritarianism. Like, who does that work on? Who's like, oh man, I'm scared. I'm sure some people caved. But some people actually cheered it on. Some people are like, yes, finally, government's coming in to swoop in to save my life. They're going to save everyone. So the demonization too, like the anti-vaxxers, you're not allowed to talk about it. You're cast out. You're an other. You're a nobody. You're a danger to society. They keep saying that. You are a danger to society, turning us against each other, making us hate each other, telling you half of your country is a sick person and you need to stay away from them. How's that any different than them driving a wedge between the races? Hate white people for this, hate black people for that. How's it any different, guys? I just want to know. The demonization of people who have chosen for one reason or another, which is nobody's business, by the way, to not get this shot, are being labeled as anti-vaxxer extremists. And it's all just so dishonest. The suppression of side effects. I pretty much covered everything. The counterproductive incentives, right? Free hot dogs, free beer, free burgers and donuts and fries. The mayor of New York City stuffing his face with junk food, which is bad for you anyway, but can make somebody fat, which makes them more susceptible to the virus. I mean, 78% of hospitalizations were people who were overweight, but your incentives are, fast food and junk and beer, lap dances, all of that stuff. I think the lap dances were for votes. I can't remember who that was. Maybe Madonna, somebody cringe. I don't know. It was bad. But these incentives, what are these incentives? Why can't it be, hey, gym membership, discount on a bike or a kayak? Why does it have to be junk food? We're partnering with Shake Shack. You're going to get some high fructose corn syrup and diabetes if you just get this shot. The fact that there are breakthrough cases. So even if you got it, it still doesn't keep you safe. You can still get it. You can still spread it. The pressure, it blows my mind. The fact that they keep announcing booster shots. It just, 2 people resigned from the FDA. 2 high-level officials from the FDA resigned because Biden is so overzealous about these shots, so overzealous about booster shots. So you had 2 people resign because they're like, this is getting crazy. You're all going over our head now. We're the experts. Pressuring nurses to get the shot. If a nurse or a doctor doesn't want to get the shot, who the hell's going to tell them they're wrong? Your sanctimonious friends on social media that think that they have the moral high ground. Look at me. My profile picture says I got a medical procedure. Cool. Look at you. You're saving humanity. Everyone's beneath you. Everyone's beneath you if they don't get this shot. Wonderful. Helps you sleep at night, I'm sure. But this is another reason why it just turns people off. You're just making it worse. But the average person must really lack self-awareness if they don't see that them shaming you, calling you an anti-masker, an anti-vaxxer, right-wing extremist, a science denier, and trying to treat you like you've got the plague, and they cheer on censorship of your posts online. They cheer on you getting your job threatened. They cheer that on. And then they don't understand that it's making you not want it more. It's making you want to stand your ground. I mean, the fundamental aspect of being an autonomous, free person would be controlling what goes into your body. I mean, that's the most intimate aspect. I mean, your body. Right? But everybody who's all self-righteous, look at me, I'm holier than thou, I'm better than everybody who hasn't gotten the shot. And so because I have this false sense of moral superiority, I can go on the attack. I can thumb my nose at people, shame them, tell them how horrible they are, pressure them to get this medical procedure so that we can go back to normal. This idea that government sold them, hey, we just need the other half of your fellow citizens who we're losing patience with to get this. And then I'll ease up the pressure on you. So it has a downhill effect. It's government, it's Biden, it's the rhetoric from media pressuring people who have been compliant. They're saying, hey, you're going to have to suffer until that Mike Nificent over there in Florida gets the jab, until Sandy over there in Kentucky gets the jab. Jim in Texas doesn't want it. So until those people get it, we got to make your life suck. Now, what does that do? That's them sicking the vaccinated on the unvaccinated. That's what they call us now. They don't even call us humans. You're the unvaccinated. You're one of those, one of the others. Right? And the fact that this is probably the biggest one, the fact that vaccine manufacturers are exempt from liability. So let me get this straight. You're going to make a medical procedure mandatory. I cannot opt out for any reason. And then because that's a thing, if I get damaged from this procedure that you're making me take and I can't opt out, if I want to buy groceries and earn a living, I have to get it. So you've coerced me to do it. If I get damaged, I can't go sue the manufacturer. They're exempt from liability. So let me get this straight. The people pushing this, pressuring you, they're profiting from it, of course. They're funded by Big Pharma. Big Pharma spends money on advertising. They bankroll politicians. They got a big lobby in DC. And in return, DC shields them from liability. They're protected from liability. So that's a number one reason for a lot of people. They're like, wait a minute. Where there's risk, there should be choice. But if you're going to force somebody, at least tie up all the loose ends. At least help me out. They're not on your side in any aspect of this. They don't care if you have side effects. They don't care if it damages you. They don't care about your religion. They don't care about your health. All they care about is controlling you and owning your body. That's it, period. If they cared, they wouldn't have been so anti-vax last year, period. Don't want to hear about it. But the fact is you cannot sue the vaccine companies if you get damaged. You cannot sue Big Pharma. And government's okay with it while they're telling you that you're not doing your patriotic duty. Then, yeah, you're going to just fuel more hesitancy. People are going to dig their heels in. I'm one of those people. I'm sure many people watching me are some of those people. And now, what do Nicki Minaj's fans think? That she's been suspended from Twitter for no real reason. They're labeling her an anti-vaxxer, when in fact she's been quite the opposite. And she gets thrown off social media. And now they're smearing her and trying to write her off as some dumb person. They took one thing she tweeted and ran with this entire narrative of propaganda. They have this decoy narrative, so you don't look at the other things she said that were truthful. And you think that her nearly 200 million followers are going to be like, let me sign up for Fauci's thing or whatever. I'm just saying, man, it has the opposite effect of what their goal is. Apparently, they say that's their goal, is to get back to normal and health, but everything they're doing has the opposite effect, ruining everybody's life. Sorry, not going to work. And then even if you got 100% of Americans to do this, is that how viruses work? They just go away? Some have, but not ones that mutate like this, apparently. We're going to have the Bugs Bunny variant soon. We're going to have the Walker Texas Ranger variant. They're just going to have to start naming them like hurricanes. This is the Diane variant. It's off the coast of, I'm just saying, I'm trying to be funny, but they're just going to keep coming with variants. There's no end game. This is perpetual. This is ongoing. They're not going to stop. But it's the sanctimonious, self-righteous, holier than thou people that keep pressuring you. They have their profile picture. I took the shot. Here's my card. Look at me. Give me some likes. Validation feedback loop, and go. The people that are doing that are the same ones that are ignoring Biden sniffing kids, ignoring all of the lies and the misinformation, ignoring Fauci flip-flopping. They actually believe that government is on their side and they care, and they're going to get us back to normal if we just comply. Just comply. Who cares if we look more like China? Just comply. It's just the 12th booster shot, man. Just get it. They're doing it for our health. No, sorry. Sorry, not sorry. That's all I got to say. I went on a crazy rant right there. But thanks everybody that tuned in today. Give me a thumbs up if you wouldn't mind. I appreciate it. God bless you all for being here, man, listening to me rant on this Thursday. I've had a consistent group of about 40 to 50 people on a channel that only has like 3,000 subs. And then on my main channel that has 64,000 subs, I'm lucky to get 150 to 200. I think we all know if you extrapolate the numbers on this channel out to my main channel, I should have probably 3,000 people watching every stream. In the middle of the day, at night, should probably be more like 5,000 to 6,000. And that's true for even big channels. Even big channels, like when my man Anthony Brian Logan goes live, he should probably have at least 10 to 20,000 people watching him live. You think about how many subs he has. I mean, just saying. The agenda is real. People can see it. The question is, do they want to see it, or do they want to bury their heads in the sand? But there are people who don't see it yet, and that's who we're trying to reach here. So, yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. I've talked a lot. I probably need to go drink some water. I need to get some fresh air. My AC is not really working right now. I mean, it turned off. But anyway, I'll be back tomorrow, possibly on the main channel, but if not, this channel. Now, as a reminder, if you want to rewatch this, if you want to see this from the beginning, I recommend you, well, I'm going to share the link, but this is not going to upload on my YouTube channel until tomorrow. I've done that with every one of my live streams. After it's done, it's not online for at least 15 hours. So I'm going to share the link in my community tab. I'm going to post it on Telegram and Twitter and other social media so that people can go and rewatch it if they want. But that's where you'll see it between now and the time that it does upload on YouTube. So with that said, God bless you guys. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you in the next stream.